The list goes on. I am aware. Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking all about eyeshadow formulas. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the 5 brands that in my opinion and in my experience have the very best formulas of eyeshadows. We're talking about blendability, pigmentation, ease and quickness of use. These are the brands and formulas of eyeshadows that in my opinion have really gotten it right. And while some of these you might be able to guess, some of them I think might surprise you. I am also excited because this video is in collaboration with 2 amazing people here on YouTube, Heather Austin and Miss MellisaM. I have collaborated with both of these women before and I'm excited to be joining them again today. Between the 3 of us, I think we cover a good age range from 30s all the way up through 50s. And I know Melissa and Heather both have really great taste in eyeshadow. So I am so excited to hear their thoughts and what they end up picking. I will of course link both of their videos and channels down below so you can head over and check them out. Before we jump into the 5 brands that I have picked, I just want to welcome those of you that are new to my channel. I hope that you'll consider subscribing, and if you would like to be notified when I upload a new video, be sure to hit that notification bell. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Now these are in no particular order. It was actually quite challenging to pick out just 5. There are a lot of eyeshadow brands that I love that did not make this list because again, we are just talking about formulas today. Formula is just one of the things that goes into creating a good eyeshadow palette. There are a lot of other things that go into creating some of my favorite palettes, including packaging, pricing, color stories, but we're just going to cover formulas today. These are what I think are the best of the best. And to kick things off, I had to include the Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow formula. I'm a big fan of the ABH eyeshadow formula. I think it includes all the things that go into making a good formula for me. They're very, very pigmented, they blend very easily, they build very quickly, and they wear really well on my eyes. Her mattes are great and easy to blend. They're very consistent across the palettes that I own of hers. I don't find variation in quality between the palettes of hers that I own. I do own, I believe, 5 of them. I also really love her shimmers. They are a little bit dry and flaky, but they apply really, really well with a finger, which is how I typically like to apply my shimmers. This palette right here is the Soft Glam palette, which I believe is one of their most popular palettes that I know many of you probably own. It is a beautiful one. It's actually not my favorite palette of theirs, but I do really love it. It is gorgeous. Now I have heard a few people say they had issues with the lasting power of the ABH eyeshadow formula, but I have always had really good luck with it. In fact, there's been one specific time that I actually fell asleep with my makeup on wearing this palette, but I remember that next morning waking up, I had this shade Bronze on my lids and it was completely intact, which is pretty rare. Oftentimes, just by the end of the day, I find shimmers to wear off or crease a little bit on me, especially if I'm not using a really good eyeshadow primer, but I've never had trouble with the ABH eyeshadow formula. And perhaps one of the reasons I love the ABH eyeshadow formula so much is how quickly you can get a look out of these. Because the mattes are so pigmented but also so blendable, you can just take one quick layer, throw it into your crease, and then pop a shimmer on your lid just with your finger and have a beautiful complete look in just a matter of seconds. And that's something I really appreciate because I am often in a hurry and I need a complete look in a matter of seconds. And over the years, as my eyeshadow palette collection has grown, as I've tried out a lot more brands and I have a lot more to compare this to, it still holds up to the best of the best in my opinion. The next eyeshadow brand that I think has one of the best formulas out there is Persona Cosmetics. In fact, when I thought of this video, this was one of the brands that immediately popped into my head. This palette right here, their original Identity palette, is so stunning. I think the mattes are very, very pigmented, very rich, very blendable. The tones are a little dark, so if you have very fair skin, you'll want to be careful with this specific color story, but the formula itself is smooth, it's easy to work with, it lasts all day long. But even as good as the Persona matte formula is, I think the shimmer formula is even better. This has got to be one of, if not the very best shimmer formula in my collection. I would call this shimmer formula very universally flattering. They're very, very reflective, but at the same time, they're a little bit more smooth and refined looking. So if you have texture on your eyelids, this is the type of shimmer that I would highly, highly recommend. And real quickly, comparing this formula to the ABH formula, there are a couple of different formulas inside the ABH palettes, and some of them can be a little bit chunky or flaky formula, which I do think is beautiful, but it can emphasize texture. But that is not something the Persona shimmers will give you trouble with. They are beautiful and smoothing, yet still very reflective. These are also the type of shimmers that I find work really well with a finger or with a dense brush. They're a little bit more creamy feeling than the ABH shimmers. I also have her Identity 2 palette. The formula is every bit as good as the original, and I do think this is a beautiful palette, especially in combination with the original one. One mark of a really good matte eyeshadow formula is when you have a really deep shade like this dark black or this dark brown, or even the dark browns or the purple inside here, I never have trouble blending these out. They blend out with very little work, but they maintain their pigmentation on the eyes. And if you want to build really intense depth, you can do that very, very easily and quickly. This is again one of those brands that I reach for when I'm in a hurry, when I want to create a really quick eye look, but I want it to still look really nice. Like I want to have some intensity or some depth. This is another one that I will reach for because I can get a really beautiful look very, very quickly, and I know it's going to last all day long. The next brand that I'm including today is one that was a little bit tough for me. The first four were very easy for me to pick out, but this last one, it was kind of a toss-up between this brand and a couple other ones that I really love. But I ended up going with Tatty Beauty. This is the only palette that they have released, so I'm a little bit hesitant to say this brand has a great formula because they've only released one palette. But sometimes when you come across a good formula, even if it is the first palette, you just know. And that's how I felt with the Tatty Beauty palette, kind of similarly to how I felt with the original Identity palette. I've talked a lot about this palette over the last year, and while the color story is not my very favorite in the world, and there are a couple formulas in here that I don't like as much as others, her matte and metallic formulas are some of the best that I've ever tried. Her mattes have that same quality I've been talking about. Really great pigmentation, strong pigmentation, but very easy to blend or to build depending on how much color or how much depth you want on your eye. And her shimmer formula reminds me quite a bit of the Persona one. It's a very smooth and refined, almost satiny shimmer, but it does have a good reflective quality to it. It's one of the few shimmer formulas in my collection that I specifically think would look good on more mature eyelids because it's very, very smoothing on the eyes. I so wish this brand would come out with more eyeshadow palettes and more diverse color ranges because I just really think this formula is something special. Anytime I do an eye look with this palette, it just looks extra good. And that's one of the marks of a really good eyeshadow formula. They almost seem to blend themselves. A good formula makes it seem that you have more skill than you actually do. Like it doesn't take a lot of skill to get a really good formula to work for you. And that's how I feel about this palette as well as all the ones I'm talking about today. There is some repetition in this palette. I'm not a huge fan of the glitters, although I do actually think this is the best pressed glitter formula that I have ever tried. But if we are just talking about quality, there is something special about the quality in this palette, in my opinion. The next brand that I think has a really exceptional formula, especially for the price range, has got to be Colourpop. Of all the brands I'm talking about today, I would say Colourpop is maybe not quite as good as some of the higher end brands I'm talking about. But as far as affordable brands go, I think they definitely have the best formula for an affordable brand. I think they're very consistent. I've never had any inconsistencies between palettes. Their mattes are really nice and pigmented. They're blendable. They actually remind me a little bit of the ABH mattes, only not quite as powdery as those ones, which some people might even prefer, but I don't have any trouble blending their mattes. I think they're lovely. Their foiled shimmers are really nice. Their satins are really nice and smooth looking on the lids. And as an added bonus, some of their palettes include a Super Shock shadow formula, which is kind of more of a cream glitter topper formula, which I really love and I think adds a lot of versatility to some of the eye looks you can create. I personally try to watch out for the palettes that include the pressed glitters. Both of these ones do. I'm not a big fan of pressed glitters in general, but other than that, I've never had any issues with the palettes that I've tried, and I have quite a few of Colourpop's palettes. They check all of the boxes that I look for in a good eyeshadow formula. They are pigmented, they're blendable, they're easy to apply, and you can create a look with them very quickly. And as a bonus, they're affordable, and who doesn't love a good affordable eyeshadow palette? The last brand that I have to mention might be my favorite of them all, and that would have to be the Sydney Grace eyeshadow formula. I love this formula. I know I have talked your ears off about these Sydney Grace eyeshadows recently. In fact, just in yesterday's video, I ranked the Enduring Love palette as my #1 palette of the year 2020 so far. There's just something so special about her eyeshadow formula, both her mattes and her shimmers and her satins. They are all perfectly done. I love how reflective her shimmers are. Now, some people might not like that. I would say if you're not a big fan of very reflective shimmers, be careful the shimmers that you pick. The ones that are pressed pigments are very reflective. So if you want something a little bit more soft, maybe go for her satin metallics like this shade right here. But these shimmers, you guys, oh my goodness, would you look at that? They are absolutely incredible. It's like liquefied metal on your eyes. I just absolutely love it. So today I'm actually wearing some singles from Sydney Grace. Let me just walk you through what I'm wearing today. So I started off with this shade right here, which is Peyton's Puppy in my crease, and then I took the shade Hot Chocolate to kind of build up a little depth in my outer corner, and then smudged a little bit of this Plume color just along the lash line, upper and lower. Then I popped a little bit of this shimmery pink, which is the shade Lucky Peach, all over my lid, along with a little bit of this shade Blondie, which is basically a light shell pink, right on the inner part of my lid in my inner corner. That's how I created this very pretty soft pink eye look today. I do not think her formulas would disappoint anyone. They are just so beautifully done. The day after I got the second half of my order, which if you watched that video, kind of explained what happened there, but when I got the rest of my order in and tried and swatched out those shadows, I wanted to get right back on their website and order everything else that I have not ordered so far. Haven't done it yet. I am on a no-buy this month. I'm trying to restrain myself. I definitely don't need them, but I just want them. I want all of her shadows because I just think they are so great. Someone once asked me a question about eyeshadows and asked me what shadows or shadow brands I felt were the highest quality and that seemed to blend themselves, and I never quite understood what that term really meant until I tried out the Sydney Gray shadows. These are the type of eyeshadows that you put them on and they make you feel like you are more skilled than you actually are. No matter what brushes you are using, no matter what your techniques are, they're just very easy to use. They're perfectly pigmented, but they show up and last on the eyes. This is the type of form that I would say is very foolproof. You do pay a little bit more for it. This palette is $52, but you do get really large pan sizes inside here. I think the value for the amount of product that you're getting and of course for the high quality is absolutely worth the price. So I definitely had to include my Sydney Gray shadows in this video today. If you've been on the fence and wondering if they are as good as people say they are, they are. And that, you guys, is it for the 5 best eyeshadow brands in my collection. I'm sure there are a lot of brands in here that you are surprised I didn't mention. There are a lot of brands out there that I absolutely love. Juvia's Place, Alter Ego, BH Cosmetics, Natasha Denona. I love all those brands as well. I think they are all great. But if I had to pick the 5 best of the best just for their formulas, these are the ones that I would stand behind. I would love to hear from you guys. Do you agree or disagree with me on some of these brands? Or would you have a different brand that I maybe didn't include today? Let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to head over and check out Heather and Melissa's selection for their favorite eyeshadow formulas. And one more reminder, if you're not subscribed, I hope that you'll do that before you leave. Thank you guys again for stopping by today, for watching this video. I hope that you guys are doing well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. I'm like constantly developing these new words that I have a tendency to overuse. I'm just waiting for people to call me out on it. You say definitely a lot. Yes, I do. I know. Along with beautiful and gorgeous, and I feel like the list goes on. I am aware. Doing laundry. That's laundry. It's not toilet, it's laundry. You can create a look very quickly with, oh my heck. Whew, sweetie, it's hot. It's hot down here. Oh, I can't wait till it cools off and I no longer have sweat dripping down my back while I film videos. And I'm sure none of you wanted to hear that. At least my makeup still looks good.